Hello there, welcome to our show. My name is Doshima Dapoyewole and I'm the founder of the Early Birth Foundation. It's my pleasure to present the 6-part series podcast, My Neonatal Story. This show is our contribution to celebrations for World Prematurity Day 2021. Please share with your friends and family, leave us a comment, and follow us on Instagram at EBFNIG. Up next, I'll introduce today's guest. Thank you so much for listening. Ola, thank you so much for taking out the time to share your story for World Prematurity Day. So I think I'm going to start from your Instagram page first of all, because when I found myself in you 4 years ago, a friend of mine was like, this lady started this page. Hopefully, you will find something useful on the page. And one of the things I loved about the page, I said I would tell you, was just how many people of color and babies of color are on the page. Because at that point in time, I just kept thinking like, okay, I think all these images and hearing all these things about Caucasian children, but my child is not Caucasian. So it was really making me worry, like, how is this going to turn out? What is his journey going to be like? So thank you so much for running your page and giving us something to look at, something inspirational that is very, very relatable. So thank you for that. So I'm going to hand it over to you now. Stop blabbing, but just tell us about your journey, your family. How old is your child now? Where were they born? How did your whole new journey start?
Thank you so much. First of all, thank you for the opportunity. I know I'm privileged to share my story with not just you, but the whole world. And thank you for your kind words in regard to the work I do with Colourful Beginnings. I couldn't have done what I'm doing with Colourful Beginnings if not for the grace of God and the support of the people, who are supporting me and sharing their story. So one of the reasons why I started Colourful Beginnings is when I had my baby, there wasn't that platform, there wasn't that community. So I wanted to be that bridge to other families, support other families going through the NICU experience, because as you know, it can be a very lonely, scary, heartbreaking experience. So that's one of the reasons why Colourful Beginnings came into existence. So basically, my name is Ola. I've got two daughters. My first was born at 23 weeks. She weighed 540 grams. And my second was born at 29 weeks. And she weighed 1 kg.
Wow.
Yeah, well, with my first, really, it was all a shock. Had the perfect pregnancy, to be honest. No morning sickness, nothing. Most of the time, I don't even realize I'm pregnant. I'm still able to do the things I was doing. I had more energy than before I got pregnant. So, I was just carrying on with my day-to-day activities until I was about 21 weeks. Out of the blue. This might be a bit too much TMI. So went to the loo on this fateful day. I was talking to my husband because he had made his way to work. Just talking to my husband, keeping each other company. And then I realized I was only meant to be there opening my bladder. And I realized I'd been there for so long. When you're sitting down on the toilet seat and you're thinking, and then I tried to hold my pelvic muscle. When I did that, the flow stopped. As soon as I let go, it just gushes out.
Oh, wow.
And then I got scared of that. I looked in the toilet bowl and it was filled with blood.
Oh, wow.
And I was like, what? I told my husband, this is what's happening. He was like, calm down. Don't panic. He tried to reassure me. And I was like, he was like, was trying to reassure me that, okay, maybe it's nothing serious. Let's just take it easy. I called the ambulance. They were like, there were no ambulances. So they're going to send a paramedic. Yeah. They sent a paramedic.
Wait, whoa. Wait, what? Where were the ambulances?
Apparently, I guess I was on the priority list for those they send an ambulance out to attend to. My assumption.
Wow.
Yeah, so, they did send the paramedic. And until this time, my husband was still on the phone with me, trying to research and check what may be wrong. He had his research hat on, trying to, what could it be? What could it be? So, we're still trying to tell me, don't worry about it. Don't panic. Just be calm. Paramedic came. The paramedic did come quite quickly. So I'm assuming the paramedic was already in the area. The paramedic came, assessed me, and said, we need to get you to the hospital. At the time, I had my onesie on, so my 90s, was winter time. I had a winter, woolly, fleecy 90 onesie on, and it was all blood. And at this point, I was getting scared. But my husband was still trying to assure me that, don't worry, nothing's going to happen. Just keep calm. The paramedic guy calling, they say, we need to get her to the hospital. And they kept saying, we have no ambulance. It took us 45 minutes. They had to start IV in my living room.
In your living room? Wow.
Yeah, I was losing so much blood. Ambulance finally came. I couldn't walk at the point, so they had me in a wheelchair, wheeled me to the ambulance, got me to the hospital. And as soon as I got to the hospital, they'd already called the hospital now. We informed them what was happening. So they had already prepared a side room for me. The midwife, God bless her, she was so lovely. I can't remember her name, but such a beautiful lady, beautiful soul. Spoke to me, tried to reassure me, got me comfortable, took the onesie off me, gave me a gown, which we all know is not very decent and dignity. If you're trying to protect your privacy and your dignity, that gown is not what you need. But she gave me the hospital gown, just tried to make me feel comfortable. And then she said she'll get a doctor. And then a female doctor walked in and she was like, oh, I'm just gonna assess you. She did. She was like, well, your membranes are open, they've ruptured, so there's nothing we can do. Babies less than 24 weeks have no chance, they're not viable. So because you're 21 weeks, there's nothing we can do. We're just gonna wait for the baby to come and we classify it as a miscarriage. What? And I was like, pardon? I was like, yeah, there's nothing we can do. You're 21 weeks, you're already 4 centimeters dilated. We can't do anything. We're just gonna wait for the baby to come. We take it as a miscarriage. And obviously that's not what any parents want to hear, whether it's your first child or your 10th child.
Exactly.
And I just busted out into tears. I was crying. And what really got to me was she then told the midwife, when she finished crying, pull me back in, and she walked out of the room.
Wait, just wait. Like, I mean, you've blown my mind. Like, this thing isn't even 5 minutes in, and like, you've already blown my mind on multiple levels that I'm just confused right now. Okay.
I couldn't believe it.
The dog, okay.
My jaw literally dropped.
She said that when you finished crying, or you
that's the exact word. I'm not even paraphrasing. I'm exact word. When she finished crying, pulled me back in the room, and she walked out.
Wow.
Again, bless the midwife. She was trying so hard.
Wow.
Because I'm sure she herself must have been shocked, but she had to put that aside to just make sure I was comfortable. She tried to say, oh, don't worry, we'll do our very best. Make sure you and baby, you're fine. Do you want me to call anyone? Do you want me to ask her? I told her she could call my husband. She did, and then she explained everything to my husband, what the doctor said. My husband backed me, and again, encouraging me that don't worry, nothing's going to happen to the baby. Nothing's going to happen to you. Everyone's going to be fine, and he's going to make his way down to the hospital. And I told the midwife, I said, can I please be left alone? I want to be left alone, please. And she's like, okay, if you need anything, if you need me, she pressed the buzzer. She gave me the button. She moved it closer to me. She was so sweet. I couldn't fault her. There was nothing to fault about the midwife. And then I just started crying, and I told God, I said, this is it now. I need you to prove yourself. I need you to show your power. I don't want this child to die. But if you want people to ask me where my God is, who I've been serving all these years, then don't do anything. And at that moment, I felt an unusual peace. It felt as if someone held me close and made me know, don't worry, it's gonna be okay. And from that moment, I just had this unusual peace, unusual assurance that nothing's gonna happen to myself or my baby. And I didn't realize that was the beginning of my journey, but I felt at peace that God answered me, and I felt God in that room, that God actually came down for me to feel him physically. Now, don't worry, I've got you. So evening time, I'm gonna try and fast forward because it's a very long story. Evening time came, another doctor, my husband was already with me at this point. So the evening doctor, night doctor came, they took over. She came, she didn't even do any assessments, nothing. And she's like, oh, we're just waiting for the baby to come, and then we can just class it as a miscarriage. And at this point, my husband got upset. My husband was like, you're a doctor, you've just come and shift, you haven't assessed the patient, but then you're making a decision. And she said, well, there's nothing to assess. The consultant in the morning already did the assessment, and she said, we're just waiting for a miscarriage. And my husband was like, that's not good enough. You need to do your own assessment. And bearing in mind, we've only just moved to the area, so this wasn't my original hospital that I should have had my baby. But at that point, they had to take me to the nearest hospital to my house. So my husband was like, do you know where? I need her out of this hospital because it looks like you guys don't know what you're doing. I need her back to the original hospital. So midwife in charge that day, that shit was bad. It's too late to do the transfer. And moreover, they have to speak to the hospital if they have a spare bed. Can we please stay the night? And then they'll try and sort the transfer out the next morning. And my husband was like, okay, fine. But the first thing the next day, I need her out of this hospital. So we agreed to stay the night. And then the second day, again, I'm a Christian, so you would hear a lot of God in my story, because my story wouldn't be complete if I don't give the glory to God Almighty. Another consultant came. This time was a guy. He came into the room. He said, oh, I heard you want to get transferred. My husband was with me, and my husband literally just took. I can't thank God enough for the man I married. He was my rock when I just crumbled. And my husband was like, yeah, this is what happened. I'm not confident of the service that she's getting it, so I need her out. And then the consultant came. He said exactly what the lady said the previous day, but in a more empathetic, loving, caring way.
Yeah.
The day before, the consultant stood over me. But on this particular day, this male consultant came down to my level, spoke to me eyeball to eyeball. I didn't feel intimidated. I didn't feel someone was hovering over me, just telling me, dishing out what to do. And he said, rather instead of leaving, you can take me to theater, try and do a cervical stitch. There's no guarantee for something. You can buy us more time. Yeah. And my husband was like, okay, myself and my husband was like, okay, she's going to buy us more time. We'll go for it. And then time for the surgery, before the surgery, came with the form, told us all the benefits and the risk. And he said there's a risk of losing mom and baby, or losing baby. So he had to tell us all this risk. And, my husband was like, when you get to theater, I can't imagine how you must have been feeling, because no one should ever be put in a position where you have to choose your wife or your child. Yeah. And he said, when you get to theater, the risk outweighs the benefit. Can you not if the risk is more than the benefit? Just please stop. Fast forward, they did we signed the form, consent form. We went to theater. He wasn't allowed, obviously. So he went to the car to wait for me. And at that moment, he said all three was just praying. And again, on that bed, I was just praying that, God, you just take control, because you've already given him the assurance that nothing would happen to my baby. 2 hours later, they finished the procedure, and the consultant said, well done, thank God, or thank the man of God. Because obviously there's restrictions
on how religious you can be. Yeah,
exactly. So obviously he was like, well, thank the man of God. I got the gist. And I was just like, okay, fine, it's done, I'm happy. I was taken to the recovery room. Fast forward back to delivery suit, just waiting to see what would happen. Okay, 2 days later, they're like, okay, we need to transfer you to the postnatal ward because baby's not coming. And on that ward, I was head down position. So my head was further down just to take pressure away from my cervix. Those few weeks, I must say, it was the most uncomfortable period of my life.
Wait, you were upside down?
Yeah, so they had to tilt me. They had to tilt my bed in a position where my head literally not fully down, but just the consultant said it's just doing things, it might work, it might not work, but we'll try. And it was so uncomfortable because imagine people coming into my room, and I don't know who's in my room. They have to literally come around to my head to introduce themselves or DD. And I remember those 2 weeks, I was so scared to go to the toilet, because I remember the consultant saying, you can go to the toilet, you can't come out of bed, you have to stay in bed all day. There's a risk when you try to open your bowel, the stitch might break. Oh gosh. And I would literally, when they bring food, I'm like, no, I don't want food, because I felt, well, if I don't have food, then there will be no need for me to open my bowel, because there's nothing for my body to process. But it was the most uncomfortable. I said I would do it. If that's what it's going to keep my child alive, I would do it. Fast forward, we came, I was discharged home. I remember that morning, the consultant came and the team, they're like, do you want to go? I didn't even allow them to finish. I was like, yeah, I need to go. I want to go home. I remember my husband joking that, can we go on with the bed as well so we can keep the same position at home? But they discharged me. Fast forward the next day, I was back in hospital in labor.
Oh, wow.
And yeah, she wasn't, I remember the midwife saying 30 more minutes and she'll be exactly 23 weeks. 30 more minutes. We're not sure if we can keep her or if we can save her, but you never know. 30 more minutes. And I was holding on to that 30 more minutes. I was like, just say that to at least 30 minutes. Just say.
Oh, wow.
They took out the stitch. They were already prepared. They were already ready. We had consultants who had been there from the morning shift. They decided to stay behind. Just the more and available, the better opportunity the baby had.
Yeah.
It wasn't guaranteed because they told us that she was born that night and she wasn't breathing. They were not going to resuscitate. They said they gave us a lot of statistics, a lot of, quality life might not be great, everything negative, to be honest. And at the end of the conversation, they're like, oh, girls do better than boys. And then African girls do better than, I was like, in my head, I was thinking, so why didn't you start with this? Why start with the negative and then into positivity? You could have started with that and then, but I just said everything they were saying. It got to a point where I was physically there, my body was there, but my mind wasn't there. I was just praying that, God, you've told me nothing's going to happen to this child, but I need you to really showcase yourself. She didn't come that day. 2 days later, she was born. She weighed 540 grams. She was so tiny. I saw her briefly before she was rushed to NICU. And I remember the midwife saying, they're talking about NICU, which is good. That means she's okay. Because if she's not okay, then they wouldn't be talking about taking her to NICU. For those who don't know what NICU is, it's neonatal intensive care unit. So it's a unit where premature babies or sick babies are treated. But this hospital where my baby was born can only look after babies from 27 weeks. So they're not equipped to look after a baby born at 23 and 2 days. But they did their best. And I really thank God for them because they really did their best. Prior to her being born, the day after I landed back in hospital, since the baby wasn't coming, they offered us to be transferred to another hospital. But my husband and I said no. And the midwife that was supposed to do the transfer with us said we made the right decision. Because if we had agreed to the transfer, I would just be transferred in a normal ambulance. So if I go into labor in the ambulance, there is no special equipment to save the baby or to cater for the baby. So it was the right decision we made. She spent 5 hours in the hospital she was delivered at, just to stabilize her, and then they transferred her to level 3 hospital. And from that moment, it was just one step forward, 20 steps backward. You know, there was a lot of things happening. What's called week 3, a lung collapse. They're going to do surgery to have it closed. You know, it's so amazing that, and that's why I said I can't share her story and not add God to it, because the doctors did the scan. They saw the lung. They booked the surgery for her to have the lung sorted. And we got to the surgery. We got to the hospital. The surgeon said, he's never done this kind of surgery on a baby this small. The likelihood of her coming out alive is very low. And I said, don't worry, she's going to come out alive. And I remember the doctor looking at me like, you must be crazy. I said, don't worry, I know what I'm doing. I know I'm saying, she's going to come out alive. And they got in there. After the surgery, the surgeon came to me and said, I couldn't find any collapsed lung.
Wow.
And I smiled. And he looked at me like, why is I said, because I know why. He said he didn't find any lungs, any collapsed lung, but he still injected the medication. So whatever they inject, the medication will find the lungs, whatever it is, and try to glue it together because it's like a glue. But then prior to this, we had a call where they told us, no, your baby will make it before you get her, to give us permission to get a priest to bless her before she goes. We were like, no, she's not going anywhere. And that day, so they just called us to give them concern, because the doctor was like, it's nice for them to be blessed before they go. Like, she's not going anywhere. And, you know, on that day, again, I thank God for God, and I thank God for my husband, because I don't know what I would have done if my husband wasn't with me, or if I didn't marry the kind of man I married, because on that day, I saw in life and direct that she was not responding. And, you know, they tried different machines. She just wasn't responding to the machines. They would do it manually. She would respond. But the consultant can say, we can't keep doing it manually. It's not practical. And they're going to do more damage than good. That, you know, it's best to just call it a day. She's not going to make it anyway. And I kept saying, no, don't call the priest, because she kept calling, it's nice to get the priest before she goes. I'm like, she's not going anywhere. You know, at one point, I said, can you please leave me alone? Go talk to my husband. And one of the doctors on that shift during the procedure was like, she's fighting. We're going to fight with her until she decides she's not fighting again. And I really thank God for that junior doctor that said that, because the consultant in duty had given up. She had given up a long time ago. And I kept saying, well, I'm not giving you permission to get a priest. She's not going anywhere. We had end of life meeting. We lived 2 hours away from the hospital she was at. So they said they wouldn't advise her to go home, you know, they got a hotel next to the hospital. And that night, my husband was like, he's going on because nothing's going to happen to his child. As a mom, not that I thought she was going to die, but you know, as a mom, I wanted to be closer to her.
Of course.
And I said, okay, I will stay at the hotel. Escorted him to the train station, and he told me, he said, please don't go back to the hotel. I would have given excuses why I needed to be there, why I needed to go back. And I didn't argue. I just said, okay. And I got to the hotel room, and I said, God, again, if you want people to ask me where you are and who you are, don't do anything. I'm not even going to say anything anymore. I leave her in your head. Do whatever you want to do. And my cousin, I remember one of my cousins in America calling me. She was asking me, how is she? And I was like, she's fine. And I said all the positive things ever.
Wow.
I was like, she's doing so well. She's doing amazing. She's growing well. It felt as if I was making a declaration. And I finished that conversation and I went to bed. Normally, I would call. They know me that I'm calling every 30 minutes, every hour. I usually get to the hospital very early. The next day, I strolled in at 11 o'clock in the morning. And they were looking at me like, when your child was okay, you come here early, you call us non-stop. And they said, oh, Mom, we didn't see you yesterday. You said you're coming back. I said, I just decided not to come back. They said, well, we don't know what happened. We don't know what you've done. But when you left, you picked up.
Wow.
And I just laughed. And they looked at me like, why are you laughing? I said, you wouldn't understand. And again, that's why I said I can't share her story about bringing God into it, because it was God all the way. Because the consultant gave up, but God showed himself strong and mighty. He spent almost 9 months in 5 different hospitals. It was back and forth, back and forth. As I said, the story is a very, 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 very long story. You know, it was always one negative report after the other. But then again, my husband was my rock. Pray with me, pray for me, you know, running up and down, making sure I was okay, making sure our baby was okay. This was our first baby. And, you know, I don't have anyone that's had a premature baby, not that I know of. It was after I had her that my mom was like, oh, you know, one of your cousins was born at 32 weeks.
That's the thing that always happens. The same thing happening. And I was like, wow, Mommy, it would have been really helpful to know this like a long time ago, you know?
Exactly. And at that point, I was thinking 32 weeks. 32 weeks is almost full term. That's still a better chance for a 32-weeker. This is a 23 weeks where they don't classify viable. Because you can terminate a pregnancy in the UK 24 weeks.
Wow.
Yeah, you can. So they don't, any pregnancy less than 24 weeks, they don't think there's a point in saving the baby.
Wow.
Yeah. Another miracle that happened was we were told when I give birth, she's less than 500 grams or she's not breathing, they're not going to touch her. When I gave birth, they weighed her and she was 540 grams. But then when she got to the receiving hospital, it was 474 grams. Wow. So in my head, I'm thinking even God had to work on the scale, because if they had weighed her and she was 474 grams, they would not
have taken her. Wow.
They would have just allowed her to go.
Wow.
And it's just amazing, that I look back, I reflect on her journey, and I'm just like, God, I thank you. At every stage, there's always one doctor that I would give up, and that would always be the doctor in charge.
Oh, wow.
And God would always turn the situation around. And, like I said, she spent almost 9 months in 5 different hospitals. It was always one issue, back and forth, one surgery. We were told she was never going to walk back. So at one point, they wanted to do tracheostomy because they said she was never going to get off breathing machine, because she was on the breathing machine for a very, very, very long time, to the point where they're diagnosed as independent on it. So she can't live without a breathing support. But again, God turned that around as well. When the surgeon came, they needed to do the surgery. The surgeon was like, she's never done this kind of surgery on a tiny baby like this, and she doesn't think it's necessary. And that consultant got upset. Like, that's not why I asked her to come and do. I just asked her to come and explain the procedure. And I was thinking, why are you getting upset that the surgeon is saying that the surgery is not necessary? Let's wait. But you wanted to push forward for a tracheostomy. And once you go on a tracheostomy, it's a different ball game in its own entirety. Parents that have baby tracheostomy, I raise my hand there, because it is not easy. It's so much work involved. And, it's just a whole ball game on its own. But to her, she's one step forward and 2 steps backward. She wasn't going to breathe by herself. The doctors, at one point, I felt they were using her as a guinea pig.
Wow.
Because they've not seen a baby that kind of case. So they were just using her as a trial.
An error.
An experiment. Like, let's just see if this works. Let's just see if that works. And that's why I said I can't share a story without bringing God into the matter, because God really showed himself through. And if not for God and technology, because I'm not going to do that, science and technology did play a part, but I don't think science and technology would have done it alone if God wasn't involved.
I'm a person of faith as well. And to be honest, I actually really don't know what faith. That's just the honest truth. I really don't know what faith, because just wow, really, just wow. You have such strong faith. What I'm really curious about is these things that people are telling you, like, no, your baby's not going to survive. Oh, no, your wife should be transferred. Oh, no, you guys should have this surgery. Okay, no, we're going to, do the surgery on her lungs. How do you guys handle making all decisions and staying calm under pressure? You're in these situations. I think parents really need training in how to make decisions under pressure, because these things that have been thrown at you, they could break anyone, or, you could just be like, okay, no, the doctor should just make decisions. But you guys still have the presence of mind to know, like, no, this person is not fighting my child. No, this is experimental. No, I think we're going to wait. No, I think we're going to be, calm. So honestly, I mean, if this was me, I would have just probably been crying in one corner. Like, I don't even know what to say or what to think, and people tell me that, oh no, Josh, you're really good under pressure. But I'm like, oh, well, this is pressure times. This is pressure times 100, 1 billion to infinity.
It is. For us, what we did is, before we make any decision, we would usually pray. We would usually pray and ask God to lead and direct us and help us to make the right decision, because we felt at every junction where we had to make a decision, we had to be careful, because the decisions we made, reflecting back, the decisions we made was what would have made or broken her. So if we had made the wrong decision, then that would have been the end of it. And it was at every significant junction we had to make a decision. And again, like I said, we would always pray, we would always go back to God, we would always talk and say, okay, if we do this, what do we need to do? We talk to each other, we reflect on things, and we didn't allow the pressure from the medical staff to sway us, to affect us for making the right decision. And again, like I said, we'd always go back to help us, because we knew we couldn't do it ourselves. Because if you're not careful, it's easy for, as a parent, to say, well, the doctors, this is their job, this is their area of specialty, this is what they studied, so they know it inside out, so they would make the right decision. But no, they would not make a decision for your child. And I think as parents, don't leave all the decision making to doctors or healthcare professionals. If you're not happy with what they say or the decision they want to make, you're allowed to take a second opinion. You're allowed to ask for time to go over it, to think about it, to speak to someone else. Don't just make a decision on the spot. Don't agree to anything on the spot, especially if you're not sure. And always, as mothers, always listen to your maternal instinct, because there would always be that thing telling you no or yes. So don't be sensitive to that nudge and go with it. Don't brush it aside, or don't allow anyone put you under pressure to make decision on the spot.
Your daughter is amazing, because to think that she went through quite an eventful start to life. I really want to know what was going. You guys spent 9 months. You said you were in 5 different hospitals. When they were finally like, okay, you can take your baby home. What was that day like? What was the first night going home?
The first, because we had to discharge. The first discharge, I was excited, over the moon. I told my husband to bring the car seat the day before so I can, get myself everything prepped. I'd already packed all the things from the hospital. And I was like, yeah, we're going home. I told her, we're finally going home, this and that. And then on the day of discharge, everything was there. Discharge summary had been printed. Everything, we're just ready to go. And then the nurse, God bless her, was like, I'm just going to do the final observation before you guys leave because they've already booked a taxi for us. And I'm just going to do the final observation before you leave. And then it's like, yeah, sure, that's fine. I know it's at this point, I'd become almost a doctor. So I sort of know exactly what was happening. I know what each look meant. I know the numbers of machines. So I was ready for the team. And then she did the observation. I looked at the machine, I looked at her face, and I was like, okay, now something's wrong. And then she was like, I was like, is everything okay? She's like, yeah, yes, mom. I just need to check something with the doctor. I was like, here we go. We're not going home today. And the doctor came, just like, oh, hi. Was trying to talk the old situation. And in my head, I was like, just go straight to the point.
Get to the point.
I already know there's something wrong. Just don't beat around the bush. Just go straight to the point. And I was like, yeah, we just found out she has pulmonary hypertension, so she won't be going on today. And my heart just sank. I was like, that's fine. They're like, you're right, mom. I say, yeah, that's fine. Just do what you need to do to keep her safe. I'm happy and grateful to God for that nurse. And when the second discharge date came, to be honest, I wasn't excited. I didn't put too much effort into it because I was like, if it happens, it happens.
Yeah.
And I really didn't believe it until we got into the house. And I put her in a crate.
Yeah.
Like, yes, now we're home. And that was when I finally believed and accepted we're not in hospital anymore.
Let's get into your second pregnancy. So
I found out I was pregnant with my second child at 13 weeks.
Wow.
My first baby is home, breastfeeding, and people say I'm weird like that because I would always taste my breast milk. If I put anything in my baby's mouth, I would always taste it. Doesn't matter what it is. So my friends think I'm tasting my breast milk. Like if I can give it to my baby, it's coming from me. Why can't I taste it? And on this particular day, I tried to breastfeed her, but then do my normal tasting, and it was a bit sour. And I was like, why is it sour? So I didn't breastfeed it that day, and I was worried. But luckily, she got other milk, which is high calorie milk.
Yeah.
So I fed her that, and then I called the GP to say this is what's wrong, and I've been feeling really tired, which I've been putting down to the hospital stress. And she was like, we're just gonna run some tests, and I just check you're okay. And then she checked me. She's like, you may be pregnant. I said, nah, I know I'm not. She's like, yeah, you I think you are. I just left it. I came out thinking, yeah, right, I'm not pregnant anyway. But then I decided to go and do the test, and bam, here we are. And then I went back to her and I was like, yeah, I am. So she needs to refer me to hospital quickly because of my first pregnancy. So I have to be on the gynecology again. I classified my pregnancy as high risk. Got met finally. Again, God has his way. And I said, God has a funny sense of humor. Met the original, well, not the original, the second consultant who attended to me with my first baby. And he literally took over my care because he knew my history. Rather than going to a new doctor who doesn't know my history, who will be reading notes. He already knows my history. He knows what was wrong. So he just took over and then he booked me for a cervical stitch. But then I had to cancel because they then had other surgery, which then ran in my time. So at 17 weeks, I finally had surgical stitch, and he was on point. He was ready for this pregnancy. He was prepared. With my first, they had to give me I can't remember the name of this injection, but I'm not sure if you had it. So the one to help the babies with their lungs.
Yeah, I don't know what it's called, but I always say that injection just came to me because I think I had my son like 30 seconds after they gave me.
Oh,
so
really?
I don't think he got a chance to travel to his lungs.
Yeah, because I had 2 shots. So one and then the second the day after. That thing stinks, man. Oh my gosh. So after the cervical stage, the consultant, the gynecologist was like, okay, we need to have the injection. We need just to make sure we need to be prepared for this baby because the first one we're not prepared. We need to be prepared for this one. And he was thinking, okay, if we can push this pregnancy to 24 weeks, this is the first is 23. If we can push him or her, because she refused to show her to open her legs for us to see whether she's a boy or a girl. If we can push this baby to 24 weeks, that's good enough. So, he did, although he would always see me every 2 weeks. And it was such a struggle, having a baby. My first was on home oxygen, feeding tube, pregnant, numerous hospital appointments every 2 weeks, and then at 28 weeks and 30 days, I was discharged, thinking, okay, yeah, baby's fine, service is looking good, and we've passed the risky stage anyway, so baby's born at 28 weeks, we can still manage in the hospital.
Exactly.
And then the next day, my waters broke.
Oh my Lord.
And I freaked out because of my first, she was born in her own sac, so my waters didn't break. I have no experience of waters breaking. And I went to the toilet again, and I peed, it wasn't stopping, it was going. But this time around, I wasn't as scared because it wasn't blood, it was just water. So I called the ambulance saying, this is what's happening. I'm just peeing on myself. And lady was like, can you see the baby's head? I was like, huh? I was like, I shouldn't be seeing any baby's head. Like, my baby's just 29 weeks. And she's like, please, are you standing up? I was like, yes, sir. She said, please sit down. Oh my gosh, she scared me on the phone because I was like, baby's head. And she's like, there's no ambulance at the moment, but I'm going to try my best again to send an ambulance as quickly as possible. This and that, blah, blah, blah. And before that, I'd already called the taxi company I was using. And the guy was like, it's not free till 45 minutes. So I explained to him, no, you don't need a taxi, you need an ambulance. That's why I called an ambulance. And then they came. Again, I was told, but this time around, it wasn't blood, it was just water. By the time we got up to, I wasn't in labor. My water just broke. We got to the hospital, they're like, oh, her heart rate is reducing, so they're gonna have to bring her out. Did some observation, kept on the machine. They're like, oh no, her heart rate back up. We're just gonna monitor you. 2 days later, they're like, we need to bring her out because there's no water around her. Risk of infection is high. We need to bring her out. And I remember telling one of the doctors, I was like, oh, can you not take out the fish so I can have a vaginal birth? And she was like, are you in labor? I was like, no. She said, so we can't take you out. I was thinking, that's a bit rude. Like, she was so there, like, are you in labor? I was like, no. She was like, so there's no point taking the stitch out. But I had her through cesarean section, and with her, completely opposite to my first. There was no medical, nothing, no need of oxygen. They said they tried connecting her to oxygen, but she didn't want to. She didn't tolerate it. And every time I would call the hospital, I remember them saying, Mom, there's nothing to say. She's okay. Whereas with my first, was always stories. There's always something to hear, something to say.
Long gist on the phone. Long medical gist on the phone.
Oh gosh, there was always something to say. Something was always happening. With her, they felt a bit weird. Yeah. Like, even I felt I was disturbing the nurses at one point. Because every time I called, they're like, Mom, there's nothing to say. She's fine. She's eating and growing well. And she stayed at the hospital where she was born. They were both born at the same hospital, but they were able to look after her there because she was born at 29 weeks and 2 days. And she came home 2 months before her due date.
Wow.
And I remember, obviously, when I brought my first home, she was a chunky baby.
Yeah.
When we were bringing the second home, I couldn't carry the casket. She was just too small. Like, she was supposed to be here. She's not even a full-term baby. Yeah. But because the hospital were not doing anything for her, the hospital is, you're either, I think, 34 weeks or 4 pounds. Yeah. And she got to 34 weeks. And they're like, okay, bye. Was it 34 weeks? So I can't remember if it was the weeks or the weight. I think it was the weight because she wasn't due until March, but she came home January. Oh, wow. Yeah, so it was so scary carrying her, having a tiny baby at home. Whereas my first, so she was that size, she was in hospital connected to lots of machines, lots of wires. And it was just so different. And I was just like, oh my gosh, I couldn't just stop looking at the both of them. Like, oh my gosh, I have 2 tiny little ones. Oh, wow. In my hand. And it's just amazing. And yeah, it's really amazing. I don't have much to say about my second because there's nothing much to say. And, I remember one of my friends saying, God used her to compensate you for all you went through with your first. I was like, yeah, God knew, because if not, my first would have been my first and my only child. I wouldn't want to do that again. They said, when people say, oh, you didn't waste time. I said, yeah, I didn't realize I wasn't planned like that. It wasn't planned like that. I would have just had one baby and that's it. But yeah, and my experience with my first just made me start Colourful Beginnings, because initially it was just a support group. Yeah. My second actually came a month after I started the group. Oh wow. And it's just because when with my first, I didn't have anyone to talk to that understood what I was going through. Yeah. And because the doctor's reports were just negative, I didn't want to be repeating that, because I felt me repeating that meant unconsciously I've accepted what they said. Again, that's my way of thinking. That was my way, my coping strategy. So I didn't want to repeat whatever they said to anybody, any family member or anything. So I just, and there wasn't any stories. All the stories I saw, they're like from 28 weeks. There was no story about 23 weeks. And again, like you said, they're Caucasian. And I was thinking, if they're saying African girls do better, where are there no stories of African girls? Where has there not been a case of an African girl born at 23 weeks?
Yeah.
There was no story, and I thought, no, I want to do something for other families because I don't want them to go through what myself and my husband went through with my first. Because with my second, I felt like I was more experienced. I knew what to expect.
You were like
I knew what the machine. Exactly. Like, come on now. Even when the nurses are talking, like, yeah, this and that, and they look at me like, yeah, I have a first preemie. And yeah, it was just there. But I really thank God. I reckon without God, I don't think I'll be here. People have said, "Oh, you're strong. You're strong." I'm like, nah. I don't think I'm strong. It's God and my husband. I can't take that from God and my husband because he really, really, really stood by me and stood by us as a family. And when you marry someone and then you then see them in a different dimension, like, okay, yeah.
I actually 2 questions. I was like, how long had you guys been married before you had your first?
Oh, same year we got married, we got pregnant, we had a baby.
Wow.
So it was an eventful year.
Very eventful year.
Alice told people, he got married, got pregnant, and we had the baby same year. We should have had the baby the following year, but the baby was like, nope, I'm coming the same year.
I'm ready.
So it was, newlywed, you're still in the honeymoon phase, and then your face is all this.
You guys handled it really, really well because, there are couples that have been married for ages that, this, type of situation could have broken them. But, grace, that's the word that comes. It's just grace. The decisions and, the state of mind that you need to be in to calmly navigate, make medical decisions for your family. Kudos to your hubby, man. Kudos to him. Like, I'm sending him a virtual chop because
I'll deliver it.
They handle a lot under pressure, taking care of us. Your kid is in hospital, your wife is in hospital, you're not sure what will happen, Exactly. So I definitely appreciate his care for his girls. So having 2 girls at home, settling into regular family life now, what has that been like? Any of them old enough to sort of know their story and know the exciting way or the colorful way that I did come to the world?
No, at the moment, because my first did have just a delay.
Okay.
So obviously we can't, and then developmental delays also. What I say to her at the point, I can't really bombard her with a lot of story. Obviously, by showing her pictures, initially she'd be like, "Mommy, who's this? Is this baby?" I'm like, "No, that's you as a baby." So when she loves to look at those pictures. When she sees those, she laughs and she said, "That's me as a baby." And I can't wait. I'm able to share the story with them. They don't look like what they've been through.
That's always the thing. Like, it's only you, the parents, that remember the details and the experience, and they're just like, "Oh, I'm just gonna go jump over this tree. I'm just going to, try and cut myself or something."
Exactly.
They're oblivious, to the journey that got them there. Your page and your initiative, Colourful Beginnings, is a wealth of resource for parents that find themselves on NICU. So I'm not even going to ask you what you would tell a parent who's currently in NICU. I'm just going to go on Instagram and find Colourful Beginnings. But what I would ask you is, what have you learned since you started running Colourful Beginnings? And what are some of the moments that have made you just feel like, yeah, this was all really worth it?
I know you say, you're not going to ask me what to say to current families on NICU. Or there's something I always say, especially to the mom. Yeah. It is not your fault that you had a premature baby. It is not, your body did not fail you.
Yeah.
You didn't do anything wrong. You're not the cause of it. So don't ever blame yourself for not keeping your baby till term. Also, please find a support system. It doesn't have to be a village. It can be one person that you trust, that you can be yourself around. You can break down if you need to in the presence of the person, and this person understands you, and always try to have time for yourself. It doesn't have to be one day. It doesn't have to be a week. It doesn't have to be going on holiday. It could be just 5 minutes of you just being alone with your thoughts, your imagination, and just taking everything in and looking after yourself. It could be meeting up with a friend just for a cup of coffee. You need it because you can't give what you don't have. You can't run on an empty cup. You need to fill your own cup to be able to be the best for your child. Don't, because I went into an autopilot mode and I literally just ignored myself. And it was all about, there's nothing wrong with wanting to be there for your child. That's what you do as a mom. But please find that moment where you tend to just fill yourself up. And for those who, family, friends, those who come into contact with anyone with preemie babies, please. I know you want to help, but please don't say your baby's okay or your baby will be fine. Don't worry. Those are not the things preemie moms moms especially want to hear at that time. They just want you to hear, I may not know what you're going through, but I'm here for you. Whenever you need me, I am here. And please be there for them when they need you. Sometimes you don't need to talk, you just need to listen.
Yeah.
Sometimes you don't even need to give advice, you just need to listen. There's a lot of time when preemie moms vent out, they don't need advice. They already know what's going to happen. They already know what they want to do. But they just need to vent out. They just need to vent what's on their mind out. And in the process of you trying to advise them, you can just make the matter worse. So sometimes you just need to just listen and listen and listen. I had to throw that in because, you know.
I know. I like that. That is so important, honestly.
Yeah, because, you know, I do speak with a lot of preemie parents and like, yeah, my mom's saying this, my sister's saying this and this. And sometimes I'm having to say, I know, now I understand. They're coming from the best place. But sometimes the way we take it is not the way it's been delivered because we're in a different world. We're in a different state of mind. We don't see things the way other people are saying it because those people are not going through what we're going through. They're not experiencing the pain we're experiencing. So they would never understand how we feel and what we're going through. They can only imagine, but they can never understand. So don't even tell somebody I understand. I know what you're going through. You don't know. So no, because some of these things, some of these little words, they can be a trigger.
Honestly, Ola, you've made me laugh. You've made me cry. You know, and I think that's just what's so beautiful about having, you know, making space for community with like-minded people is that I can relate to so many things that you said. I can relate to so many experiences that you said. And if I just kept sitting in my own little corner thinking, oh, this only happened to me, which is how so many of us feel. It's like, oh, everybody to their baby home immediately. Everybody got a chance to use their Nathaniel Bassey list during delivery. You know, everybody got to have their baby shower. But I'm like, these are the things that happen to me and understand that I relate to, especially for parents that find themselves in you. You have to try and find your community. Thankfully, more and more spaces are coming up for people of color that can really get into it and talk to someone openly and really that looks like you, sounds like you. Their child may have a name like your own. Comforting to just be able to find somebody and be like, that's what I was going through. I didn't have the language to explain it. I was too shy to talk about it. But now I can. So no,
sometimes it's not even about us being shy. It's just sometimes you know this person is not going to understand. If I come to you and say, oh, my baby, the doctor is saying my baby's gonna go on CPAP. If you're in that NICU ward, you know what CPAP is. You'll be like, oh, conversation can flow easily.
Yes.
But if you're talking to someone like, oh, what's a CPAP? What does CPAP do? You think, oh gosh, that's the last thing you want to do because you don't want to start explaining. You just want to flow with the conversation. You just like I said, the mom already knows that baby is going on CPAP. Them talking about it, it's just sometimes they're looking for that assurance that don't worry, oh, my baby went on CPAP as well, and you know my baby did well on it, this and that. But if I'm having them saying, so what's a CPAP? What does a CPAP? What does it do? How does it work? And then it's like, I really don't want to be explaining. And that's why it's good, like you said, to find your own community. Find people. I'm not saying don't talk to other people, but find one or two people that you know that they understand. And you know, again, if you're looking for a community, Colourful Beginnings is there. We're a big, wonderful community. You know, you can send us questions. You can send us your stories. You can send us medical, non-medical questions. You can, you know, whatever it is you're going through, whatever thing it is that you need answers to, just contact us, reach out to us. And the families will share their stories. They're so amazing. You know, they're all over the world. And sometimes I just post a question to say, oh, this mom is going through this. And people just, oh yeah, my baby went through this. This is what you do. You know, you need to seek a second opinion. You need to speak to the doctor. And you know, some of the things, because no one has monopoly of knowledge. Some of the things you haven't even thought of. You're thinking, oh, that's it. That's what it is. And then sometimes you feel like I'm worried, but my baby's not the only one going through it. It's something, some of these things you're thinking, I shouldn't really be worried because it's part of the things a preemie baby would experience. But if you don't know and you don't talk to people who have experienced the situation you're going through, you think it's the end of the world.
I'm so glad you shared your story. The last question I was going to ask you was, were you ever given any reason why you sort of were having the early deliveries or your waters were breaking early?
No, they did test and it's like, no reason, can't find anything.
Yeah, I know. That's like me. Mine was just like, oh yeah, spontaneous vaginal delivery. And I'm like, well, what am I going to do with that? You know?
Yeah.
You know, but you know, some moms, I think that's another thing that hits home with what you said. Like, it's not your fault. Sometimes there's just no answer to the question, why did this happen? And you have to make that. That's just what you...
Even if there is a reason, I feel still not your fault.
Exactly.
Because I know some people do have premature baby because they've had preeclampsia, they've had they've got incompetent cervix. It's still not your fault. It's never your fault. It will never be your fault. It's just we just have to deal with the situation as it comes and be strong, not just for your baby, because a lot of people say you need to be strong for your baby. You need to be strong for your baby. You also need to be strong for yourself. And if you do need help, if you see that, you know what, it's getting too much, it's becoming overwhelming, seek help. Don't be afraid to seek help. It's not a bad thing to ask for help. It actually means you're strong because you're able to recognize I can't do it alone. And if you have a partner, you have a spouse, please get them involved. You know, you're on the journey together. You are on the journey together. Go on it together intentionally, you know.
Thank you so much, Ola. Seriously, I'm mind blown. Like I think you like we need a session with you and your husband about decision making under stress. That is my takeaway. Decision making under stress. That's going to be my new campaign, you know, because my gosh, you know, and I know you just told me bits and pieces, so I'm sure there's by the time you even remember, like, oh, we even had a conversation, you'll be shocked. Count your blessings, name them one by one, and it'll surprise you what God has done.
And we'll continue to talk about it. We'll continue to raise awareness. We'll continue to educate people because it's alarming the amount of babies born prematurely every year. There's 1 in 13 babies born every single day, and there's still not enough awareness and talks about premature birth and the NICU experience because it's very rare for you to talk on and say, oh yeah, I knew about NICU before I had my baby. It's very rare. It's very rare. So, you know, again, that's one of the things Colourful Beginnings doing. We're going to keep talking. We're going to keep sharing stories to encourage families, to raise awareness, to educate the general public, and just let people know you're not alone. Because it feels like you're alone, but you're not alone. We're all in this together, and we will support everyone together. We'll support each other and help each other get the best of the situation.
Thank you so much. Ola, my love to your hubby. Don't forget to give him his virtual chop knuckle.
I'm going to.
And my love to the girls.
Thank you so much for having me.
You've just listened to My Neonatal Story, an Early Birth Foundation podcast. Please follow our Instagram page for free resources and subscribe to our show on iTunes and Google Play to make sure you don't miss the next episode. Thanks for tuning in today.